In 1970s, the collapse of the Bretton Woods monetary order, two oil price shocks, and world recession all highlighting the fact that economic and political matters are intertwined. The economy was high politics, and much of the politics was about the economy. Therefore, this is high time to learn the political economy under the global business environment. I'm Tyagi Pushpika. In this video, we are going to learn the introduction and the definitions for political economy, the importance and the types, as well as the new area of international political economy, and how the political economy impact on the international business, and finally the dilemma between the state and the business. Political economy is a field of study that deals with the interaction between political and economic forces. It is a term used to describe the process of government decision on economic policies. It studies the production and the trade and their relations with law, custom and government, and with the distribution of national income and wealth. Therefore, the political economics help us to understand the formulation and execution of public policies and their effect on the economy as well as the social systems. Let's look at definitions of political economy. According to Collinson in 2003, says that political economy analysis is concerned with the interaction of political and economic process within a society, the distribution of power and wealth between different groups and individuals, and the process that create, sustain, and transform these relationships over time. According to Eatwell, Millgate, and Newman, political economy is the science of wealth and deals with effort made by man to supply wants and satisfy desires. Some of the characteristics or the themes of political economy include the distribution of wealth, how goods and services are produced, who owns property and other resources, who profits from production, supply and demand, how public policy and government interaction impact on the society. Now, you may wonder that why it is important to study political economy. Actually, political economy investigates how political forces affect the economy. People have a powerful impact on economic policy. Political economists attempt to identify the relevant groups and their interest and how political institutions affect their impact on policy. It evaluates how the economy affects politics. Macroeconomic trends can boost or ruin chance of a political party. At more microeconomic level, characteristics of how certain business or industries are organized or operate can have an impact on the type and course of their political engagement. Therefore, it uses the tools of economics to study politics. We can compare the politicians to a business, voters as customers of it, and the government as the monopolistic supplier of goods and services to those businesses. In order to obtain a more theoretical understanding of the fundamental characteristics driving politics, and academics should study the political economic interactions. Therefore, it is important us to study the political economics. We can categorize the political economy into three types. First one is the socialism. Here, the production and distribution of goods and wealth are maintained and regulated by the society rather than a particular group of people. It aims to bridge the gap between the rich and poor. Here, one or more individuals don't have the majority of the power and wealth, whereas in the capitalism, private owners controls national industry and trade for profit rather than by the state. In the communism, all the property is publicly owned and each person contributes and receives according to their ability and their needs. International political economy or global political economy is the study of global interaction with political and economic actors, systems, and institutions. It is focused on global economic governance through studies of microeconomic concepts such as globalization, international trade, the monetary and financial system, international inequality, and development, and how these are influenced by, among others, international organizations, multinational corporations, and sovereign states. Let's see the significance or the importance of international political economy. It understands the global structures and power dynamics that regulate in international trade, international monetary and financial systems. It also takes into account how international politics impact on local economies. It enables us to understand the way history, culture, international relations, and politics impact on economic performance and overall economic development. The impact of distribution of wealth and poverty across and within the state, regions, and through the world. Finally, it enables us to understand the way multinational corporations operate across the state borders and finance. Political economy of international business is the relationship between government decision and international businesses. Free trade occurs when governments do not attempt to restrict what citizens can buy from another country or what they can sell to another country via international businesses. However, government erect trade barriers and intervene in other ways to restrict or alter free trade to achieve political, social or economic objectives. Government policy intervention shapes the trend of international businesses by the competitive landscape. It may hinder or helps in the ability of firms to compete internationally. I think that government can run the economy. Let's look at government intervention or protectionism. Government intervention refers to national economic policies designed to restrict free trade and protect domestic industries from foreign competition. It arises typically in the form of tariff, non-tariff trade barriers, and investment barriers. There are many reasons for government intervention: protecting infant industries, national defense, to increase the employment rates, and environmental concerns, as well as to stop aggressive trade and to protect customer safety. Most of economists believe it is a question of balance, with the government intervening in areas where the market fails to provide the desirable outcome. Main areas of government intervention include provide public goods, provide basic healthcare and education standards, environmental regulation and protection, limit the power of monopolies, as well as regulations on worker rights. Different scholars have different opinion about government intervention. Even though there are benefits, there are negative consequences of government intervention as well. It may reduce the supply of goods to buyers due to the heavier restrictions. It may cause of price inflation, as well as it will reduce the variety and fewer choices available to buyers. Due to this, the industrial competitiveness is hindered, as well as there are some adverse unintended consequences as well. If the particular country stops of exporting, there are many other countries to catch up the vacant area. Government is using different instruments of trade policy for government intervention, such as subsidies, tariffs, import quotas, administrative policies, anti-dumping policies, voluntary export restraints, as well as local content requirements. Export subsidies are financial assistance to a firm that allow a firm to sell its product at a reduced price. These export subsidies can be taken in many forms, such as cash grants, low interest loans, tax breaks, equity participation, as well as government purchases. Consumers in local as well as abroad is benefit from lower prices. It will allow them to achieve, compete against cheaper imports, gain export markets, increase domestic employment. Further, it will help local producers to achieve first mover advantage in emerging industries. However, there are negative consequences as well. Foreign producers are harmed because of these lower world prices, as well as taxpayers in the producing country should pay the subsidiary. Tariff is a tax imposed on imported goods or services. Government imposed tariff to raise the tax revenue as well as to reduce the consumption of the imported goods or services. As a result of tariff, it will increase the price of imports. Then the domestic goods become more cheaper and more attractive to the local customers. The next best instrument is quota. Quota is a quantitative restriction placed on imports of a specific product over a specific period of time. Countries use quotas in international trade to help regulate the volume of trade between them and their countries. Quota prevent countries' domestic producers from cheaper foreign goods and foreign competition. It also enables to reduce the balance of trade deficit as well. However, quota are generally harmful for consumers. Hence, it restricts supply. As a result of local prices may increases. Voluntary export restraints are quotas on trade imposed by the exporting country, typically at the request of the importing country's government. Importing and exporting countries negotiate agreements for the exporter to voluntarily restrict exports, such as autos, steel, textile, sometimes in apparel industries. Exporting countries handle the administration in the voluntary export restraints. It will increase the likelihood that foreign producers or exporters will capture a large share of the rents. There is a tendency for exporters to raise the average quality of their exported goods. There are benefits for the domestic producers as well as there is a negative effect on the increases prices of the imported goods. Administrative policies are bureaucratic rules that are designed to make it difficult for imports to enter a country. These policies hurt consumers by denying access to possibly superior foreign products. The consumers have a limited choice because of these strict administrative policies. Dumping is selling goods in a foreign market below their cost of production or selling goods in a foreign market at below their fair market value. It can be a way for firms to unload excess production in foreign markets. Some dumping may be predator behavior to drive indigenous competitors out of that market and later rising prices and earning substantial profits. As a result, government may impose anti-dumping policies. Anti-dumping policies are designed to punish foreign firms that engage in dumping. Anti-dumping duty is a tariff that the domestic government imposes on foreign imports that it believes are priced below fair market value. The goal is to protect domestic producers from unfair foreign competition. While the intention of anti-dumping duty is to save domestic jobs, these tariffs can also may lead into higher prices for domestic consumers. In the long run, anti-dumping duties can reduce the international competition of domestic companies producing similar goods. Therefore, the World Trade Organization that deals with the rules of trade between nations have created anti-dumping measures to protect international businesses. Let's look at local content requirement. These are requirements demand that some specific fraction of goods be produced domestically. Requirement can be in the physical terms or in value terms. Local content requirements benefit domestic producers as well as it will generate more jobs domestically. However, there's a negative consequences of higher prices facing by the consumers. Now let's look at dilemma between state and businesses. Businesses are profit oriented. Because of that, a company or an entire industry may rank profit over their workers or the environment. Thus, the government has entered into the situation and has forced businesses to adhere to more ethical standards. Government agencies such as Food and Drug Administration, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration keep businesses within the legal and ethical standards. Government erect trade barriers and intervene in other ways to restrict or alter trade. They may impose trade and investment barriers applied with the aim of defending domestic markets and industries. According to Moon, in 2000, There are three central dilemmas in international trade: the unequal distribution of income and wealth created by international trade, and the trade-off among competing values that trade requires. And finally, the difficult interrelationship between economic and foreign policy goals within and among trading nations. Each dilemma has results affect people on many different levels, including their position as citizens, consumers, etc. Therefore, through an international business, the state must decide which option will serve both the interest of the market and the state effectively. Thank you for watching Political Economy. In my next video, we are going to learn how culture impact on international businesses and the global business environment. If you like this video, please put a thumbs up, and if you are interested in, please put a comment. Stay tuned with Global Business Environment.